check it out. So that's with no cleanup. Welding. 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 Scary. Okay, decision decided. That was intense. You're probably thinking, what's wrong with this guy? Like talking to himself and making those decisions out loud, but it's just how it goes sometimes. You gotta think things through, talk it out loud, and then make a call. You know what I'm saying? Yeah? Hey guys, welcome back to DMAT Customs on YouTube. Dave here. This is part 2 of the exhaust build. We got most of it like kind of put together and tacked together and stuff. Still had to do the H-pipe, which we'll be doing in this one, and we have to make a couple of little changes to the tailpipe section and that, just to kind of fix up a couple of things that I didn't quite get right in part 1. So let's get at it. And we've got to weld it all up. Yeah, so let's get at it. Check out that paint. That's actually sitting in there quite nice now. Covered in dust though. Whoa, look at that. Shiny cars, scary. If you haven't subscribed, get over there and subscribe. If your mates haven't subscribed, go and harass them. Make them do it. Make them subscribe. And then they can see where this is going, and you can all kind of sit around and have a few beers and have a laugh together and things like that. And look at this clown from New Zealand trying to make this car in this little garage and with a sticky floor. Ooh, what was that? Hey guys, well, it's a couple of days later after work. That's where we got to. So, but I've been pondering this, and I noticed a couple of things, because I went and bought some new, my knees, nuts and bolts, and bolted those flanges up a bit better. And I noticed this clattering noise, which is the result of me putting a slight bend on those J-hooks. I thought it would be clever and, you know, whatnot to do that, but it's actually pulled the exhaust sideways. So it now hits on both sides exactly the same, I might add. Yeah, which is a bit of a pain. So I'm going to have to, after I kind of actually welded those on, which I should have just tacked them, against my better judgment I welded them, and I should have done that. The other thing I was thinking though, like when it's, you know, these tailpipes, they're not got hangers and that on there, so they're pretty close to the ground and they're tipping down on a bit of an angle. So I was thinking, how can I kink these up? I was thinking about putting them in the old little SCA pipe bender over there, you know, under the bench, and kind of kinking them up. And then I was driving home from work yesterday, and I had this revelation. It was like one of those moments where I thought, to level them out, all I need to do is put a little bit more in there and drop them down, and job done. And then I had another thought on my way home today, which was another one of those defining moments. I was, you know, a bit concerned that we were too far inboard with these tailpipes and gonna run into issues with, you know, being close to the petrol tank, you know, which hangs down in here. And I thought, well, all I need to do to rectify that is put another little piece in there. We're going to end up with more joins, more welding, that kind of stuff, but it will be better in the long run, I think, you know. And if I can get my cuts nice and neat and my welds nice and neat, you won't even know I was there. Hey, yeah. So I'm going to kind of cut this thing apart, these tail pieces again, cut those J-hooks off, and kind of straighten them out a little bit again, and redo
some stuff. I can't, they were quite hard to bend as it was, because I don't know what they're made of. They were those big split pin, cotter pin thingy pin things. I don't know what they were. I found them in the drawer. I don't know where they came from. They were quite hard to bend, so I'm going to have to cut them off to bend them. If I start trying hammering on those, I'm just going to bend the exhaust, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to set about putting some marks on all of this stuff, so I can, I'm happy with the direction it takes and everything. I just want to kind of add a little bit of meat in there just to level it up. It's only going to be probably 20 or 30 millimeters at the most, about an inch, which is a bit of a pain. Then I'll add, I don't know, maybe 2 inches to that, which will push that out slightly, and we should be golden, as they say. Okay, so I'll set about marking some stuff, I reckon. Yeah, I'll show you what I mean. Alright, so what I mean by marking it is I'm just going to put a, rule a line down through here and in here as well, just so when I separate these I can clock them again. So I'll go right, 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 so I know that they're all the rights. I'll do the same over here. And, oh, come on. Left, left. One down there. There. Left. So when I put my piece in through there, it'll be all good. You know what I'm saying? Now I've just got to work out how much I want to bring that down. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to measure that. Okay, so next day, I've separated those and I've redone the J hooks and actually turned them round, straightened them out and turned them round so they would kind of hang straight. But after I tacked them on, I realised that they're now too close to the 180 bend to actually get the rubber back off. It's not really a problem, I don't think. Like if I need to take the exhaust off, I can just unbolt the rubber at that crossbar. You know what I'm saying? And so doing what I'm planning on doing here will move the tailpipes out kind of parallel in line with the chassis rail. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to add, I still got to cut there somewhere and move it out, move the 90 out, and that'll kind of have them sitting when it's fully laid out about that far off the ground, which is about the same as the mufflers over there. And I've still got to lengthen the bump stops a bit anyway, so it'll bring it up a little bit higher off the ground, so it won't be kind of like laying on the exhaust. That's my plan. Before I do finish pulling these apart and welding in all the new bits, I'm actually going to make my hangers for the back here, just so I can kind of use the hangers when I've made them to kind of center up, where it's got to be, if that makes sense. Or should I do it the other way? I might just do it the way I did it the first time. Forget that last bit. I've got a plan, kind of. Alrighty, so I'm gonna tack these extensions that I've already cut onto these elbows on my mega welding table here, just because it's kind of easier to do here rather than kind of on the ground. So I'll just quickly get these tacked in place and then we'll figure out the next step, welding and lining it all up again and stuff. Extend that a little bit, and same over here, that one. Now these marks that I've put on here, they might not really kind of work out the way I had intended, but they'll kind of get me back in the ballpark, you know what I'm saying? like that. Where does that land? Over yonder, like that. That looks alright, I reckon. Right, let's get ready to tack these up. Get a bit of a tack done. Tack. What the old clamp in the wrong spot. Where's my nippers? I just had my earth clamp on this pipe, which isn't actually connected to anything else. So yeah, that's a good move. Get that as flush as possible. Oh, can't see a thing. Big idiot in the way of my light. Not the prettiest tack, but she'll do. I've got a light on the subject. Don't break. Is that one done? Okay, so that's the first one tacked together, or the right hand side. I'll just get ahead and do the left hand side, and I'll meet you there when I'm done. Okay, so got them both tacked in place. Gonna make some hangers for the back here. I've kind of jacked it up on the bags just to make it a bit easier to get to where I want to go. And they're sort of hanging, like when they're just free balling like this one's hanging a little bit lower. I don't really know why, but I'm going to bring them up to the same level with the hangers. Hopefully that's all good. Just got to pick up my stuff off the floor, you know what I'm saying? So gotta go and have a rummage around in the old scrap drawer. Decide what to. Probably a bit heavy, a bit overkill. That might be alright. It's not going to be a lot of weight in it, something like that. Did two of those, and that one's bent. I've already flattened that out. I'm already halfway there. I just got to kind of cut a radius into it. Yep, that'll do us. It's only 2 mil, 2.5 mil, but it should be alright. Yeah. Would that be strong enough? It should be. Yeah, that'll be strong enough. I'm just going to use those. Worst comes to worst, they break off and I have to make something else up. Weld that on. Yeah. Right, so I'll clean that up and I'll flatten that back out. I'm going to grind most of this out anyway and put a radius in it. So I'll get that done and be back at you. Pop and like that. Yeah. Mostly flat. That'll do us. Get some mess away. Right, this one here's already got a pin mark. And I'm just going to use a bit of the off-cutter pipe to trace around like that. And do the same kind of thing on this one. I don't know how I'm going to cut these out. Might just have to kind of like butcher it with a zip disc and then clean it up with the old flap tack, as Puddin' Man calls it. So I'll try and cut these radiuses out of there. New disc on here. If you're you fellas in New Zealand, not sponsored in any way, but these tool shed discs are quite good. They last pretty well and they don't seem to shatter, not on a battery drill anyway. They might on a, I have run them on the old Viper, but what's going on? But yeah, they seem to be pretty good, robust disc that lasts, you know. So they're just their tool shed, their name brand, probably made in China or something, but they seem to be pretty good. Anywho, I'm gonna cut these out. These things with that disc. Not sponsored in any way. I just thought I'd tell you that if you're in New Zealand, they're quite good. Put a little mark in there. And that's about where I want. I probably could centre it there. I'll check that. I go like that. And then place it like that. You see? Kind of what I'm thinking. Battery's going to die any minute. And then I've got this jammed up kind of almost as hard as it can go. So once the weight comes back down on it, it's going to have a little bit of a sag on this rubber hanger. I'll put a riv cert through here and just bolt that sucker on. Just like that. And it'll probably go on there. So that's going to be my hole. I'm going to drill those, and then what do we do after that? Do we tack them in place, or do we drill these? Probably tack them in place and then drill these. Yeah, you reckon? Yeah. Okay. I'll just punch one of them and I'll drill them both at the same time. What am I putting through here? 10mm bolts, I think. Yep. There we go. Nice, good, solid centre punch. Lock them up in the old vise. A drill, a battery, lock and load, drill bits. Probably could just use a stepper. Can't read these anymore. Shit, where's the verniers? So I want to go, what's that, 12, so 10, so I'll go 1, 2, 3, the fourth one, that one there, what I want. Safety spectacles on, got to be safe, protect your eyeballs and your other, you know what I'm saying? Should really chuck a bit of, where is it? There it is, some of that on, lube it up. 1, 2, 3. Give it a little bit of clean up on the back end. Check that the bolts fit through. Yeah boy, just like that. Put this away. Actually, gonna need that, I think, for the old riv cert. Yep. Okay. Let me think. I'll have to put some kind of washers on here or something just to stop this pulling through and things like that. I probably shouldn't, but you know, well, it shouldn't pull through, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just going to bolt those through there. Maybe some nylocks. Have I got any 10mm nylocks? I might do. You know, just so they stay done up. And that's just going to go up on there somehow. And I can determine the, you know, the angle I put it on by that. Right, so I'll centre that, make sure that pipe's all centred up. That's actually hard up against the other side's not yet, but I'll figure that out in a sec. So I'm thinking around about there. So what's going to happen when the weight comes onto that? It's going to want to pull it down. Yeah, I reckon about there. So if I mark where I'm going to put my rib nut, right there, and then I've got to transfer that mark over to the other side, over that way. You know what I'm saying? Right, I'll go and do that, and we'll drill some holes. Bring out old Goldie for this job, because I need an 11mm hole for the riv certs that I'm putting in here. So old Goldie is the man for the job. Yep. Just like that. Yep. Hey guys, right, next day again. All I've got left to kind of mock up is the H pipe on this, so I thought I'd start kind of working on that. It's night time, so I'm not going to push the body outside. It's after work, and I've got to get under there and figure out where I'm going to put the H pipe, take some measurements and make something out of that stuff there, and couple of flanges. So I'm going to make it so you can separate one half of the exhaust. So I'm going to put a flange in the middle, and so it's you can unbolt it and pull it apart. So that's my plan. There's a tape measure. There it is. Tape measure. I got to climb under here. That was my knees. Oh my god. So I'm going to put it through around about here, just sort of under the trans, behind the cross member, well clear of everything, because there's a drive shaft loop lands about here. So what's our closest measurement? So we're going to go 465 is our total. What is it further down? It's about the same, 465. Remember that. Better make a note. 465 millimeters. I don't know what that is in inches. Something. Alrighty, so check that out. Did some scientific calculating and I've come up with a template all by myself. Just not really. Blocklayer.com. It's got a little kind of thing you can enter in your parameters, your tube thickness and size and what it's going to and your angles and all that sort of stuff, and you can end up with a PDF to make a template out of, because I've got to make a saddle. They call it a saddle joint, so it goes like that. So that template, when I trace it around there, will give me my ends, if you know what I mean. So with that in mind, I've got to cut that out and make it into a template. If you look closely, there's a center line on the low part of the saddle, so if that wraps around my tube, that join and that center line will be where I take that 465 measurement from, if you know what I'm saying. I'll mark it out. One of those. And I'll put some marks on this tube. Is that the right one? It looks too small. Okay, look, check it out. This is what I've done. Just did a little quick measure, wrapped around sort of thing. It appears my printout has printed this out ever so slightly smaller, like it's about 1/8 of an inch shorter than it needs to be, so it's not going to be as accurate as I want. Do I kind of slice it? I don't know, I'll figure it out. Okay, so I just sliced it down the middle, and I've put like a 1/16 or like a 1.5 millimeters, 2 millimeters into there. And since I'm going to be marking it out with Sharpies and shit anyway, it's not going to be like super accurate. I know I should have taken up some of it, spread it across a bit more, but this will get me into the ballpark, and then I'll do the final kind of fit up with the old flapper disc, because that's what you do. I'll wrap this around onto here, chuck a wee bit of old sticky tape on there. I'll use one of these factory lines that run down there as a center line on one side. That'll do us. I'll mark it, and then we'll just trace around it like this, you see. Oop. Yeah. And then I'm going to put I'll put a center on there as well, like so. Like that. So, I'm going to cut that out. That'll be one side, kind of ready to go. Just peel that off, like so. check it out. So that's with no cleanup. Actually makes quite a reasonably tidy saddle joint on there, just like that. So how cool is that? Alright, got to do another piece. Now I've got this piece here that was cut out of the old bomb truck, but it's the same kind of pipe, it's that alley clad sort of stuff. So I'm just going to mark that out, cut another one, and then I'll cut this end off when we get there. So I'll do the saddle clamp on that end, and then I'll do some mathematics and do that one. So I'll just cut this and then we'll be back. I'll mark it, then cut it, then we'll be back. Okay, so time for some mathematics, basic maths, which I'll probably get wrong, and then I'll end up having to weld a bunch of bits of steel together. But you know, New Zealand education system, I blame. Now my flanges are 8mm. I've got to cut these down. Hang on. So I've got to cut these in half, right? Like to get my flange in the middle. So I've got to go 465 divided by 2. So that'll be 232.5. Now I have to take 8mm off each of those to allow for the flange. So 232 minus 8. We get 232.5 minus 8. It'll be 220.5. 224. Yeah, 224.5. I'll just check. Yeah, 224.5. I told you, I was right. Now, use this ruler. 224.5. I don't know whether I'll get the 0.5 with that, but we get into the realm, you know what I'm saying? 220. I'll go 225. 225. Do another mark over this side. 225 and 225. 225. Actually, I should really roll these all the way down, eh? Should I? No? Don't really need to, but I guess I will. Take those up, cut them down. Hopefully I got my marks in the right spot. Put little marks on there to know, so I know to cut to that side of the tape. Because, believe it or not, I have actually done this before and cut to the wrong side of my tape, so they're all ready to cut. Okay, so I'm going to put on the exhaust deck, it's going to land like that roughly. So I want, you know, the flanges to kind of land like that, so we don't have one pointing down to the ground. It's going to be miles away from the ground, but so to figure that out, I need to put a mark, find a line basically that I can follow, a factory line, and just put a little centre mark on there. So if I mark there, and then mark there. Probably can't see it on the camera, but I'm following a factory line. You can see them sort of stronger in some places more so than others, and that's what I'm using to following that line to get it down to the end there, you know, the other end, you know what I'm saying? Makes sense? Okay, tack time. Okay, one down, just got to take the other one up. Hardest part's actually getting them square. You know, getting the flange square to that. It's probably a better way of doing it, but
I haven't been able to figure it out, but they're just tacked together, so I've got a little bit of hammer room, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'll get to the other one, get that done. Oh, look at that. Over here, like quick check. I've got it, I'm starting it there because that saddle on that tape measure will sit up high on there and it'll give me a false reading. So I'm just using this like a old school ruler. And we're actually at like 463. So by the time we get a gasket in there and weld it on and screw all that up, that should be perfect. So that's our H pipe. So let's have a look, see how it'll fit. Alrighty, so that's pretty much where it's gonna go, maybe around there somewhere. I could bring it back. They reckon as close to the headers or collectors as possible, but I'm not gonna run anything under the transmission, and that'd just be ridiculous. I'm using 2.5 inch pipe because I've got 2.5 inch pipe. Some go smaller, some don't even believe, you know, there's talk about the H pipe being a myth, that it does anything, you know, worthwhile. But talk to exhaust guys, they say it just evens out the pulse, and it does actually bring the volume down a little bit in that respect as well. So that's roughly where it's going to sit. So what I've got to do is obviously drill holes and stuff under there. I've got to figure out how to kind of cut the holes in that now. I have seen smaller holes drilled into here, and I'll just depend on what size hole saw I've got. Don't think I've got one, a 2.5 inch one, but I might get pretty close to it, and then I might just sort of waller it out with the old die grinder or, you know, zip disc or something like that. So, but that's roughly where she's going to sit, and for today, that's where she's going to sit, because I don't really want to do this under here, under here, you know what I'm saying? So I'll be back on the weekend, I think, and then we'll ponder where its final resting place is going to be. We take it up higher, you know. Is it going to foul up with anything that way? I do get out. Have the option of 180ing it. And that way, that flange is a little bit further away from the trans, and we have that center. That might be the way to go, actually. Do it that way. That's no, we need a ground or anything important, but it just, you know, in case that isolator collapses or something like that, then no real reason really, but that might be easier to, you know, get your hand up in here if you ever want to undo this and take one side of the exhaust off. Before I tack that on, I might actually just throw a ratchet strap around there and just pull it super tight. So these saddles are super snug at the moment. There's a little bit of a gap, but I'll use a ratchet strap to kind of make up for not having a gasket in there. And I'll just pull them in, tack them on, and yeah, that'll be it really. And then it'll pull the whole thing apart and weld it all up. On the downside, I put air in those bags last night, in the back ones and the front ones. Front is still up, back have gone down. I've noticed that they've been going down since I kind of unzip tied them from that crossbar and just kind of threw the lines over the back there. I don't know why, but they did. So till the weekend, then we'll finish this thing up. A shit ton of welding to do and a couple of holes to make. Then we'll be done. And my SD card is almost full, so I better go and empty that. Oh, head rush, stood up too fast. Day 762 on the captain's log on the exhaust build. Where are we? I don't know, like this seems to be dragging out all week, this particular little project, but I think where we left off the other night was working out where I'm going to put that H pipe, and I figured I'm just going to put it there, I guess.
If I have to take the trans out, what's the story? That can be pulled back and tipped forward, maybe. Is that a good place to put it? I could slide it back a little bit further. Actually, I might do that. I might slide it back just a bit further. So if either, it is a 4L60 after all, and they are notorious for giving problems, but this has supposedly been all freshened up and whatnot, so hopefully that's as good as I was told. So that being said, if I bring that back to about there, I did have it all worked out and marked and stuff like that, but now that I've looked at it again with fresh eyes 4 minutes later, I've decided I will move it back to about there. So, if you have to take the trans out, you can just go whoosh, whoosh, and scoop it under, and it shouldn't be a problem. Worst case scenario is you unbolt it, separate it, unhook it, and push these sideways so you've got a gap in the middle there to drop the transmission out of. Actually, what have I got here? I've got the UJ, I've got a drive shaft loop about here, so it should be alright. I do have that donut thing that I have to go and have a look at the drive shaft. Hang on a sec. Okay, so back where I started, because I thought it'd be just easy to make sure everything's well clear of drive shaft stuff and UJs and rubber donuts and all sorts of stuff like that. So that's where we are. I've checked all my measurements, referenced off that cross member there and off that cross member there, and seem to be all pretty square, so I'm just going to do a little trace around so I know where to drill my holes. And then we'll take this little mam jam back out, make some holes and tack that in place. Yeah, right. Yeah, put that over there. So that's where I've got to make some holes. I have to go and see what I've got that I can make holes. I probably won't have to drill a full. I suppose I could just run a zip disc down there on an angle, kind of like how I did the cuts, eh? And open it up pretty much to the full size. Yeah, I'll have a look at my hole saws anyway and see what I've got. Yeah. Okay, so that might be too big. Yep. That is a cheapie that's absolutely rooted, been cutting through steel with that before. And that's a more quality one, it's 51mm, and we wanted, yeah, that might do us. It's going to be a little bit smaller than the pipe size, but most H pipes are slightly smaller than the pipe size, whereas I'll just make the holes slightly smaller. Don't know whether it'll make any difference. I could get in there and cut it out a bit more, I don't know, but this will be neater, even though you won't see it, be inside the hole. And push come to shove, I could take the exhaust off, run an extension down there and just bore out the hole, buy another hole saw and bore it out bigger. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it'll really matter, I hope. Oh, we'll give it a crack anyway. And just run a couple of little approximate centre marks. See if I can whack a centre punch in here without injuring myself, or I have to go lefty. Okay. Alright, so cut those holes actually kind of take up most of the space needed anyway, so that'll be all good, I reckon. If you're wondering why I'm working in this dark cave and that again, it's because it's a typical weekend at the moment. It's pretty grim outside and it's been raining quite severely, and I don't really want to roll the body out and risk getting it soaked if I'm not paying attention, you know what I'm saying? Look at that nice twisted ratchet. Oh, look at that beauty. Okay, what happened there? Hang on, gotta fix this or find another one.
Okay, don't judge on my old ratchet tie down. I just found another ripped up Hakaria crappy one in the garage here. So I'll probably throw that out at the end of this little exercise as well, because that's not really a, I mean, it's usable for this sort of thing, but I wouldn't use it to hold a load on the back of the old bomb truck, that's for sure. Earth trap. Yeah, I forgot something. You know what they say about getting yourself into the right position before you try and weld anything? From this side to that side is not the right position, so let's reset. Alrighty, so that's that all tacked up. It pulled in nice and tight, and that stiffens up the whole exhaust quite a bit. Well, this end anyway. One more thing, I'm going to redo my J-hooks down the back there and turn them round. I've only tacked them on this time, so it's only a couple of quick cuts, spin them around and give them a quick zap, and get them on where I actually want them, rather than settle for putting them in the wrong place again. Those ones there, see, because I tacked them on that way, can't get those rubbers off because they're right on the pipe. So I'll just quickly zip those off and put them back on again. Okay, so turned those little J hooks around, more grinding, tacking, broker tack and all that kind of stuff, just the usual kind of like redo things 4 or 5 times. But we got there in the end. Now need to have a bit of a clean up, and so I can use this bench to weld all these pieces together. So that's my plan, is just now blow it all apart and spend the next few hours welding. That'll be exciting, won't it? I probably won't film heaps of welding because it's just welding, and I'll probably do welding and then some grinding and then welding and grinding and fixing up my blow throughs and stuff like that. So we'll yeah, maybe put a few little highlights in there. Washing machine finished. Let's pull this thing apart. Also, my bags were going down in the back, but I think one of those fittings there, I kind of gave it a push and it went click and click back in, so I don't think I had it pushed all the way in, or I'd somehow managed to pull it part of the way out. So there you have it. So I guess I might chuck some air in those bags with that in mind, and then pull this apart. Oh, clean up my bench. Alrighty, so first piece out came out pretty easy. Jacked the airbags right up, but then I had to jack the back of the car up to get it to feed under, so can be disassembled. That's all I really wanted, other than an exhaust. But yeah, so I'm going to start doing some welding. Wish me luck. First of a few hours of this, I think. There we go, we're at about the right kind of amperage. Yeah, I think so. My tungsten's contaminated, so 30 seconds in, good start. Right, let's go. And more, yeah, to the take 2. Bloody hell. So often my helmet switches off and I get full glare. I might just have to do a bit of lens cleaning and sensor cleaning and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Alrighty, so first piece all welded up. There's a few little blemishes in the welds, like, you know, like I was in these joins, the little pieces weren't the bestest of joins, you know. But first piece done, only got 4 more to go. Did a little bit of, like, you know, experimenting on this piece to figure out my systems and my amperages and my tungsten grinds and stuff, and then clean up in that as well. That's about as far as I'll clean it up. I'm going to squirt a bit of high temp paint in that over this just to kind of seal it all up so it don't rust and stuff like that. So on to the next one. Yeah. Well, that's the second section done, welded, grinded, stuff like that. I'm doing a bit of the grinding straight away after welding because I'm chewing through the batteries, chewing through my argon as well. Might not be able to TIG weld the whole lot, but I'll go as far as I can with the old TIG, and if I have to I'll switch to the MIG to finish it off. But it's coming along alright. Some of my, like these, getting a bit of undercutting up in there. When I kind of turn it down I don't get enough penetration. When I turn it up I get a bit of undercutting, so only really on the 8mm flange plate, so who knows. But getting a bit of that kind of walking the cut thing going on. Can't seem to do super nice welds on the on just the straight butt joints. They join, the penetration's real good, but they're just not good looking. So haven't been able to figure that out, but we'll get there. Progress. Okay, part number 3 done out of the 4 exhaust parts. These bits here, like, oh, that's still really hot. I couldn't get a kind of super nice join. You can see it kind of puckers in a little bit here and there. That's alright. My car, my problem. Got some okay sort of welding going on. Up here, this was a bit of a shit fight. This Chinesium muffler just was about half the thickness of this. So just keep wanting to eat away at that part. Yeah, but it's glued on there anyway for now. So all the stuff that's kind of more permanent, like the, you know, flanges and stuff, the welds are getting slightly better with practice. But man, it would be good to have a water cooled torch because that gets crazy hot. I don't know what the duty cycle thing means, or even really what that is, in the respect of how long I should weld for before how long I should like stop and let it cool off and stuff. So what I've been doing is doing one piece, welding it all, and then I just leave the fan going, switch the gas off, and just leave it while I clean all this up. And yeah, let that whole apparatus, my little Pung Chow inverter pulse TIG MMA, oh, mixed martial arts welding machine, it's a fighter. I'll just let that cool down because it gets real hot. Anyway, one more bit to go and then that's all welded up. Choice A. damn GoPros, man, they do some weird stuff, like push the thing and it beeps at you and tells you, yeah, I'm playing, and then it just, like, you turn around and it's not. So I don't know what's been recording and what hasn't, like, today. But anywho, finally got all of my pieces all welded up, all cleaned up as far as I'm going to take them. Had them a bit of a wipe down with isopropyl alcohol, try and get those Sharpie marks off of there, and then a bit of a once over with some red Scotch-Brite, just to give the painted mufflers a bit of a key, because I'm going to paint them with some of this. I don't know how good it is, never used it before. I have used a VHT version, it seems to be alright. Saw this, thought I'd do some silver, so it's not, everything isn't black underneath the car. Give them a bit of a squirt, just kind of got to seal up the flanges and all the welds and stuff like that. And there's a couple of those elbows are they're not alley clad stuff, so the straight pipes are the like alley clad stuff. It doesn't rust, lasts for ages, really good stuff. But the the elbows aren't, so they need to be treated of some sort, otherwise they'll just turn into rusty old exhaust pipes, and I don't like that. So gonna get some of this, give it a good shake like the bottle, the instructions says. Okay, so one can of that got me through one coat on my exhaust, so that'll do. It's not like show car shit, you know, like as you can tell, look, there's a few like not so pretty-ish welds, but they'll hold. Got overspray all over my phone, hopefully not all over the chassis. Well, that's it for today. Back at it tomorrow, hopefully, just bolt this thing back in. Alrighty, so next day, left those to dry off overnight. They're all painted with that stuff, that Rust-Oleum thing, used a can of it, and threw the rest out, because I finished it, didn't just waste it. Right, now, start putting this thing back in without scratching the crap out of everything. Scratch. Okay, so you know when you think, oh, just quickly bolt that in and we'll be done. Something I didn't think about was the heat warpage from welding this H-pipe in has pulled these main legs in at the back. I'm sure I left more of a gap for my drive shaft than that. So now I've got to figure out a way to kind of pull them back out without wrecking this thing. I don't really know what to do. Damn it. I'll think of something. I don't know what yet, but I'll think of something. Might hang the tailpipes for now. That'll give me, yeah, because now they wanted to tip off on a weird angle when they undid them. So anyway, put some rubbish in the bin for now, like be a tidy Kiwi. I've got an idea. Okay, so this is my idea. There's my knees. Wedging some blocks in there against the frame and the exhaust, and then pulling it back with this,
The only thing I don't like about using ratchet straps for this is because when you let them go, they kind of go with a bang. And that, definitely going to pull it over, but will it do what I want it to do? I don't want to put too much pressure on manifolds and stuff like that and break the welds and stuff, you know, or worse yet, break the manifolds or pull studs out of the head or something like that. Pulling it like that kind of pulls it back into my mark, which is where it should be, but when I let it go, this is the bit I don't like. It goes boing, it springs back. It did pull it over ever so slightly permanently. I might have a peek in here and see what damage it's doing before I go too much further. Oh yeah, that's just a wee scuff, that's alright. I have got the big guns. I think it's a 1.6 ton lever hoist, or come along as some people call them, but I've got to find some way of anchoring it to something that I can pull it against, if you know what I mean, and hopefully just get a slight bend going in this exhaust tube. I could move my blocks further down to where those kinks already are, so they're more likely to kind of have a little bit more give and give me a little bit more of a kind of a wee bendy bend happening there if I have a pressure point there and then pull it back on with the old lever hoist. I'll set it up, see what I can figure out. Okay, pulling it back into line. It's a little bit past it at the moment, but not really ideal. Ugh, yeah, things are digging into that tyre, so beauty of the old lever hoist, you can reverse it back out slowly. What's going on? She's still out. Haven't got it to pull over yet. I wonder if it's a combination of the heat from welding here and possibly around the muffler as well, and the muffler might have kind of tipped in as well as, you know, that's tipped in. This side's definitely a little bit worse than the other, but if I don't get them back into line, it's gonna kind of mess everything up down the back there as well. And obviously the drive shaft ain't gonna get past that. There's no way I've got these on back to front, have I? Nah, definitely not. No, it's definitely still see a bit of a T for top. So there's only one way they can go. Hey, oh, carry on. Yeah. Okay, so pulled it back, bit of wood helped. Moved this onto the inner hole, and she's almost back where it needs to be. So another pull should probably do it. I should check though to see what's going on in here. Nothing much. Oh, there's a wee kink in it. Yeah, that should be alright. Can't make it any worse. Well, probably can, don't say that. If I go too hard, it'll probably just go and just bend it at a 45-degree angle pointing in the wrong direction. But yes, but anyway, let's do another pull and see if I can pull it back. Scary. Where's it sitting on that mark? It's well past the mark. That should hopefully allow it to spring back. Oh, bang my head. Oh, is she loose now? Yep. That's pretty much on my centre mark now, so win. Right, go and do the other side. Hopefully that goes as nice as that did. Okay, so got this one wound up at the moment. Using the old kind of jury-rigged chassis frame that I've got the body sitting on, oh not chassis frame, the body dolly that I've got the chassis sitting on is moving on this side. It didn't wedge in quite as nicely, but I've kind of got it pulled back to about there. I'll let that sit for a minute. I'm going to swap that over onto the other hole, because I didn't tell you guys I screwed up my holes and I had to drill another one. I think it was on the first video on this exhaust thing. Where's that? Oh, the ratchet. Of course it's over the other side. So I'll just swap that over and then we'll let it go and see what happens. Okay, I don't know what's going on with this bloody GoPro, but yeah, loosened it off. And back on the center, but these are on a big angle now, so I'm wondering whether I need to move them back out onto the outer hole, which is what I intended, was for adjustability. Straight up, man. Didn't do any damage that I can see on any of the welds or anything like that, you know, so we'll carry on bolting this up and see how the rest of it lines up. We may not be finished with this malarkey yet, but okay, right. As you can see, there's some more bits of wood and lever hoist down this end and whatnot. When I bolted up all these tailpipes and that, this one landed exactly where it was designed to land. Other than that tab, it's a bit far back. I don't know why. I think I just welded it in the wrong spot, but it can stay there. This one here kind of ended up pushed out over to the side. I don't really know why. It still kind of is, but I'm not going to mess with it anymore. I've just tried giving it a little bit more of a kink in that bend with various blocks of wood, and it's just kind of flexing everything now. That's where I'm going to leave it. It's okay. There's still going to be a little bit more work down to the exhaust on the back here anyway. It'll be once the body's on and the bumper's on and stuff like that, I might end up taking these pieces back off. I don't really want to, not while the gas tank and everything's in there. God, it'll be a shit fight. I don't even know whether that'll actually be possible, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Don't know. Anyway, it's distracted. So yeah, all bolted up. I've got gaskets in the balance pipe, the H pipe, and at the back here at the mufflers. I haven't put gaskets in up the front at the manifolds, because the manifolds will be coming back off to put the body on, because they end up in the way when you yeah, I found that out when I was halfway through lifting the body off. There's a video about it, go and watch it. But yeah, so that's on there, bolted up. There's one little thing I'm not sure about, whether I need to put like some kind of heat shield just to protect that little bit of brake line. So this is only for when it's like, I mean, this is at about ride height. I mean, actually this doesn't make any difference. These are static to this, so I don't know what I'm talking about. You know, we've got about 20 millimeters, or about an inch, just under an inch clearance as there is now. But I'm just considering whether I make up a little plate or just a little bit of sheet metal that I can bolt up underneath, just as a deflector sort of thing, deflect any heat off the exhaust that wants to make its way up there and kind of boil brake fluid and things like that. But alrighty, so I'm just thinking, just something real simple that sort of sits there like that. You know, just pull it back or even tip the edge up a little bit to clear that bit of exhaust. Just wrap it around the front, screw it on, well, drill and tap it, something like that. I don't know if you can kind of see this, but you know what I'm saying? Just a simple shield just to kind of keep that heat away. Maybe tuck it under like that, maybe scoop it up a bit. Crap, and that'll probably land in it, but you know. I drew the line on there, but that's about how big I want to make it, but I didn't actually draw it on square, so I'll just square it up there. Just give this a little bit of a tip up in the my little box pan. Yeah, go on. Hang on. It should do as I think. Gonna look. Alright, so this is where we're at. I'm thinking if I can get that just sort of sitting there like so. Just had a thought with that compressor just kicking on, what this rubber soft line is going to do when it's at ride height. I have to make sure it's not going to come down and rub on there. I don't think it will, so just going to bend this up a bit like that. I wonder if I've got another bit of this pipe, I can go and bash this around on it, try and round it off, and maybe try and scoop up that inside there, just that edge there is all I need. Or do I just pull it back further like so? A piece of that tube in there, that's actually pretty heavy walled stuff. I think it's, I don't know, but yeah, I've got to try and wrap that around there somehow. So that's what I'm thinking, just something like that, even if it, you know, it's just to deflect a bit of heat, act as a heat sink. Only needs to have maybe one kind of bolt tapped into it to hold it in place, and a spring washer or something like that. It's not like a heavy structural part, it's just, sorry, it's just a heat shield. So I'll get back under there and mark where I've got to drill a hole. Alrighty, so that's where I'm going to drill my hole. I marked that, but I thought I'd do a quick check with a bit of air in the bags, and that soft line does want to rub on that once it's kind of quite high. So I'm going to see if I can tip this edge down, just sort of roll it under so it's a soft edge that it touches. Let's see how that works. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that. Try this. Okay, so I got the bags kind of higher than ride height type of situation, you know, like not all the time, but occasionally you might have to do something like that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking there. So when it's down lower, it's actually going to sit clear away. So having that, just that softer edge on there, if it is up that high, it's not going to have a hard edge to rub on it, sort of thing. I'll just jack it up a bit higher and have a look, see. Ow. Yeah, so that's it, almost maxed out. That's like tyre changing height. It'd be very rare that I actually ever have it up this high. So I'll try ride height, see what it looks like. That's approximately ride height there. And so if that's bolted up on there like that, it actually won't be touching at all. It might, well, you get suspension travel and stuff, but as it goes over a bump, it's more likely to go like that than pull down as such, you know. So I reckon we'd be pretty good there if I drill and stuff. Yeah, Ow.
Alright, got a couple of minor alterations to make. Just got to get it to curve up a little bit more. And got to shave a little bit off one of these corners. Take a little chunk off the side there, I reckon, just in here. It's just hitting the tab for the what's it called? It, you know, the brake line. Crikey, God, it's been a long morning. Right, I'm gonna try that. Just need to shave a little bit of the air off there, make sure it fits, and then I'll give it a final clean up, squeeze it black. Okay, so I think GoPro, like, got one real weird battery that my knees that just does some strange shit. Whoop. Okay, so that's it, kind of bolted up in place. This is it, kind of almost fully extended. We've still got a potential for a sharper edge here, so I'm just going to hammer that round like I did on that sort of scallop bit, and we should be good to go. So I'll just quickly do that. Not sponsored. Alrighty, so I'll leave that little fabrication masterpiece up there to dry for a little bit, and I'm going to move the chassis out onto the driveway and have a bit of a sweep up and a bit of a walk around, I reckon. Alright, so this is the last little bit on this little project, which is the brake exhaust stuff, including this heat shield. Yeah, that'll do us. Just like that, that clears nicely. Hopefully that's enough of a heat deflector, heat shieldy thing. Time will tell. Certman hopefully will be happy with that. Time will tell. Anyway, that's that. Let's check it out. So that's it. Oh, it's just sitting a bit high at the moment. I just raised it up to get it out of the garage. All went pretty good except for having to bend those back out again, and obviously those kinkety kink things in there, and the fact that it took about 4 days longer than I was hoping it would. Exhaust, I think the paint might be a bit thin down there. Let's see if I can ground a little bit out of that can that I threw into the bin. Might be a little bit left in it. Ooh, I might be lucky. It might just be my grinding marks that I'm looking at. We'll say that it starts rusting in a couple of years, then we'll say it was faulty product. But anyway, there it is. Exhaust on the old Area 51 complete, and when it's laid out, none of it hits the ground. So that's what we're after, and we've still got to do a little bit more work on these bump stocks. Actually, might do that before I put the body back on, because I'm kind of avoiding that now. It's kind of sketching me out, trying to figure out how to do it. Yeah, a little bit of fabrication, modifying a couple of things just to bring those bump stocks up a little bit. Or should I wait?
until the body's on. It's not a biggie to get to that stuff when the body's on. No, I'll do it when the body's on. Okay, so decision decided. That was intense. You're probably thinking, what's wrong with this guy? Like talking to himself and making those decisions out loud. But it's just how it goes sometimes. We gotta think things through, talk it out loud, and then make the call. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there we have it. Exhaust on the cheap. Budget exhaust, I call it, like in the video title and things like that. Still cost a bit of coin. Hang on, I've got it written down somewhere. So it was $571 and change for all the components. You know, the pipe, the mufflers, the little rubber hanger things, and the elbows and stuff like that. I ended up with 2 elbows left over, these 90s I didn't end up using, because I reused a 90 that I already bought, you know, for that front bit, you know what I'm saying, from the last video, the first one. So that was for all the parts. Some little bits and bobs I had here. My mate cut me the flanges for free. No doubt I'll have to pay for it in one way or another. But yeah, and then gaskets, I'm short one gasket, and yeah, but then I spent probably in total about a couple of hours last Saturday, most of last Sunday, I think. God, I can't even remember now. A few little stints during the week, all day yesterday welding, so maybe 3 days on it. It could definitely have gone faster if I had just TIG welded all those joins and didn't worry about dressing them up and stuff like that. Sorry, if I'd MIG welded all of those joins and just blasted them on, and yeah, away you go. But I kind of wanted to finish them up a bit nicer. Not quite as nice as I would have liked in some areas, but perfectly fine for a driver exhaust, you know, probably over and above a little bit, but you know, it is what it is. And most of that time in the planning stages was sitting around trying to figure this stuff out, you know, where's the best place to route it if I cut it here, because once you cut it, if you get it in the wrong place, pardon me, you got to weld shit back onto it, and then you end up with more joins and more leak points, more rust points and stuff like that. So I was trying to minimize the amount of kind of cock up cutting I did, and didn't actually make any cock up cuts, I don't think, but I ended up with a couple of extra joins that I wasn't really planning on. Oh no, I did, yeah, ended up 2 extra joins because I cut the back of the 180s before I'd really figured out the back. I just assumed I'd make them the same as the front, and then I changed my mind. So 3 days work, and you know, like just chipping it away at night, and then a couple of half days here and there, and then a full day. Oh no, probably close to 4 days work. Crikey, what was I doing? But anyway, it's done now, and I'm happy with it at the moment. As long as it all does what it's supposed to do when the body goes back on, and nothing hits, and you know, still not 100% on what I'm going to do right at the end where it comes out the back here, but we'll figure that out when we get the body back on, which hopefully will be pretty soon. Actually, I've got a body mount kit. I have to drag that out and go through it and see, because it's not actually for this car. They didn't have one listed for this car, so I had to kind of, I think I've got one for a 53, so I don't think there's much difference in them, but yeah, hopefully it's all got the same amount of bits of rubber and things like that. And I've got all the bolts, the official proper bolts and that to do this with. So that might be next, if I can figure out how I'm going to do it. Sketching me out a little bit, because yeah, I wish I had like a hoist or a lift, you know, like a 2-post lift or 4-post lift, something you could lift the body off, wheel that thing out the way, wheel the chassis in and just go zzz. That would be the bomb. But no headroom for a lift in here anyways, but I'd have to buy a new building. Not going to happen with my small YouTube channel.
Speaking of which,
Yeah, so get your mates to subscribe if you haven't already, share, like, comment, and as always, thanks for watching if you got this far, and if you're watching part 2 of the exhaust build and you got this far, good effort, and until next time, take it easy, peace.